Kevin Durant, KD. Does KD have anything left to prove in his career? I've already said it in a couple videos, guys. KD has a lot to prove left in his career. Him joining the Golden State Warriors, even though he won those 2 Finals MVPs, he won 2 championships, that still doesn't take it away from, I'm not going to take that away from Kevin Durant to a higher level. I still don't consider him as a quote-unquote champion. That's not me being petty. Anything within that, a lot of people are going to be like, well, Kevin Durant already has 2 rings at the end of the day. I mean, people are going to look back in history. He has 2 rings. Guys, I can look back into a couple of rings back in the past, some of these cats, and tell them, you only won this many rings for X, Y, and Z. Were you the number 1 option, the second? Where were you in your career? KD has won 2 championships. He joined the 73-9 Golden State Warriors, who waxed them in the conference finals for those last 3 games. KD was a no-show in Game 6. Game 7, they had a great start, but the Warriors were too electric. And Kevin Durant and the Thunder knew. Once they lost to the Warriors in 2016, the conference finals, there was no way the Thunder could have ever mentally prepared to come back and beat them. Same thing as we saw with the 2018 Rockets with James Harden. The Rockets blew that series in 7 games. They knew in their hearts there's no way they could have came back the next following season and beaten them. Now in 2019, the Rockets did have a good chance because Kevin Durant was hurt. But we saw the Warriors mentally had an edge over them, beating them year after year. We saw the same thing with Kevin Durant in the same situation. Overall, KD still has a lot to prove in my eyes to be a number 1 option on your team to win a championship for you, undisputedly. Whenever he was on the Thunder, he did lead them to a championship appearance in 2012, which I'll give him credit for. It was his 3rd or 4th season, and Kevin Durant was one of the best players in the league during that time period, right behind LeBron James. But ever since the Thunder haven't been back to the finals, he lost to the Warriors. He joined the Warriors who, before he even joined them, even though the Warriors did lose in the 2016 finals, which they should have won, I thought that was kind of rigged or scripted, or who knows, that's another video for another day I'll cover. But the Warriors entering 2017 were instant favorites before they even signed Kevin Durant to win the championship. Now, Kevin Durant joined them because he knew he would win a bunch of championships easily. Number 2, he'll play in a system that doesn't have a crazy bonehead IQ like Russell Westbrook. Number 3, he's going to beat LeBron James year after year. Number 4, to make himself more relevant. During the time period, Steph Curry and LeBron James were going back and forth for the best player in the world. All the media attention was on them, and Kevin Durant was kind of diminishing in the spotlight. It was always KD and LeBron, but now it was Steph and LeBron James. And KD, after losing the conference finals, he was being left out. He was the number 3rd best player in the world at that time period, so KD had to make a decision for his career. He knew if he joined the Warriors, they would defer to him because he is the most skilled player offensively in the NBA. Steph Curry was still the better player over him. But KD knew he could swing across the Warriors to where they had to defer for him because he's an instant all-star. He knew during that time period they would win a bunch of games in the NBA. They would destroy teams. They would win the finals year after year. But it's still a petty move. It's one of the weakest moves in NBA history on his part. Kevin Durant can easily score 30, 35 points in a series, over 50%. But now him joining the Brooklyn Nets, that puts him in a different spotlight. He's not always going to be on the best team in the world all the time. He's going to be the number 1 guy. So this is very interesting. I'm glad and happy to see him join a different franchise so we can actually see Kevin Durant can lead a team to a championship as being the number 1 option for himself. I know it's going to be 1A, 1B with him and Kyrie, but KD's still on another tier than Kyrie. But does Durant have anything left to prove? Yes, he has a lot to prove. If he doesn't win another championship, that's a bad look for his legacy. He needs to win at least 1 championship with Brooklyn to be considered on the all-time great list of winners.
You add an all-star plus player to it, meaning not just a regular all-star, but in contention for an MVP, to a 73-win team. it is impossible that they don't win the championship. Therefore, in a way, he's reverse engineering his quote-unquote greatness, let me give it a caveat, as a championship player. The point of a championship is supposed to prove something about you that the absence of a championship suggests, well, there's something missing. What I'm saying is in the case of KD joining the Warriors, it fails to do that because a lot of guys could have joined that team and achieved championships because they were already so good.
Okay. All right, Max. I'm not even going to engage you on that one. I'm over engaging on that one. If that's what you believe, then that's fine. If you need that to prove Kevin Durant's greatness, then okay. Anyway, back to the point.
Before Jay goes, he's a fanboy of KD. He's done a couple interviews with him. You got to be careful with some of these media guys. If they're connected, doing a lot of interviews with like Kevin Durant, LeBron James, of course they're gonna not say anything bad about them to ruin the rep, because about their legitimacy and journalism as well as getting interviews, they gotta say good things about these players. Same thing with Stephen A. You know how he'll talk about James Harden, Allen Iverson, pretty much on them. But then where we saw whenever LeBron James didn't do any more interviews with Stephen A., we saw a flip in Stephen A.'s demeanor to where he was more truthful and kind of ripping on LeBron, but more in a truthful type of way. Before Stephen A., we used to defend LeBron like crazy against Skip Bayless whenever he was doing interviews with him. Same thing. I expect the same energy with Jay.
About
but
the Brooklyn Nets. I do feel extremely confident that they can win a championship. And I know a lot of people always bring into the Achilles argument. Let me tell you why I don't think that's as big of an argument as it relates to basketball. Kevin Durant's game it's not like a D Rose. It's not up and back, up and back, up and back all the time. He needs to get to operational spots on the floor where he can use his size, his frame to shoot over the top of you and get to the rim. Kevin Durant's lankiness, his length was something that allowed him to explode at the rim. I think with him and their dynamic between Kevin Durant and Kyrie, it's a different equilibrium that is balanced. It's not a Kyrie, LeBron James. I think they will balance each other out because they speak to each other. Is it apt to have flares here and there? Of course, any relationship does. But the pieces that are around them in the East, yes, the Bucks are really good. Giannis is really good. I think they should always be considered the favorite. But defensively, there's been a scheme out there that Giannis has to prove they can beat. The Boston Celtics, are they really good? Yeah, with Kemba Walker and Jason Tatum and Gordon Hayward and Marcus Smart. I like the makeup of their team, but I'm still going to take the experience of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving over them if they were to.
Real quickly, and I've stated this in the past couple of my videos, with Kevin Durant being fully healthy entering the 2021 season with Kyrie Irving, the Brooklyn Nets are going to reshape their team. They're going to retool. They just fired Kenny Atkinson. They're going to bring a new coach in. It could be Tom Thibodeau, Tyronn Lue, anyone else. Who knows? They're going to trade away a bunch of their young cats. Kyrie Irving's already had multiple interviews, one of them stating he was naming his team and he was naming for the future, and he was only naming 7 of those players. None of them were the young guys like Jared Allen, Joe Harris, and them. So, the writing's under the wall. They're trying to replace the coach. They're trying to let go of the young guys, bring role players. This team designed with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, it's very interesting. These guys don't really like to run in an offensive system, giving the hockey assist, getting ball movement. They like to be ISO players, very centric to where they can get their own shots up. So we're going to see the offense fully based around Kyrie and KD just dancing around, doing ISO mid-range jumpers, coming off screens. And then you're going to see a bunch of defenders and role players and 3-and-D players playing alongside them. That's how I expect it to be. I don't really expect their head coach to be more of an X's and O's type of coach, more of a motivational, defensive, loudmouth or nonchalant where they can let them do their thing. That's how I expect, based on their personalities, to mash and everything to be put onto the Brooklyn Nets. But whenever we're looking in the 2021 season, I expect them to make the conference finals, no doubt about it. When it comes to 2021 and 2022, I expect them to at least get one finals appearance and one championship. I don't know what years is going to be. I just know with healthy Kevin Durant next season, they're going to at least get to the conference finals. And overall, they're going to win a championship. The NBA is going to make sure that Kevin Durant gets a championship away from Golden State. I think he'll get one. I think he's going to finish off with 3 championships in his career because Kevin Durant is 31 years old entering next season. And that's usually the time period to where that's at your peak, athleticism as well. No, not your athleticism, but like kind of borderline athleticism and mentality-wise and IQ. And plus on KD's game, he's more lengthier. Whenever Jay was talking about Silky, he doesn't depend on his athleticism, more of his jumper and Jay's. So he can extend to his 40s, KD, if you really think about it.
They don't
kind of play like that
with the right
Dirk
pieces.
Nowitzki
So
type.
But they don't have the experience together though. Like I feel more confident, and I think this ties in a bit earlier to the point that you're trying to make, Max, is that I think that the championship proves how good a team is, not necessarily how good a player is. And I feel more comfortable and confident in the Celtics' ability to play together, play well together, because I've seen
what have the Celtics
same
won?
for the Bucks.
What have the Celtics
No, I've
won?
just seen
What
them
have-
play
what have the
well
Celtics
together.
won?
No, I'm not saying.
Man, the Boston Celtics are not going to beat the Brooklyn Nets in a playoff series with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. There's no way. Jason Tatum's their best player. He's emerging. He's going to get better throughout the years, but they're not a threat to beat the Brooklyn Nets. No way. Even if they have experience, whenever you have two championship players, and with Kevin Durant, that's championship is not really his number one guy. But when you look at Kyrie Irving and KD, they've won championships. With their offensive skills altogether, being star players, that's going to easily override the young Boston Celtics and an inexperienced Kemba Walker.
That the Celtics have won anything. I'm just saying that I have more confidence in what I've seen them do under this coach than I've seen the Nets do without a coach right now and two players that have never really played together. And I'm not sure that their skills fit together all that well either.
Getting back to KD real quick, guys, because
Gordon Hayward,
we could
Jaylen
also
Brown, Jason Tatum, and Kemba on the court all together. I haven't seen 4 20-point scorers be able to work that out yet. I haven't seen that either. So that's a big-time question. Are they powerful? Could they win it? Yeah, of course. But I haven't seen that angle of attack work out either. All I'm saying is if they can figure out what their coaching situation is in Brooklyn, you can't just count out Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. You're talking about two guys that are going to be in the top 10 of the top 10 players in the league.
What a championship proves or doesn't prove about an individual or a team, putting that aside for a second, KD, when we talk about his injury, I know you talk about it's not like an explosion type thing, right? Maybe an Achilles doesn't have as much an effect, but it still has somewhat of an effect. And we're just talking about offense. The thing to me that started to separate Kevin Durant, like, whoa, he's not playing games, is the kind of defensive player he evolved into to go with the offense. How versatile and excellent he was defensively at a certain point. That, Jay,
Real quickly, Kevin Durant became a more appealing, great defensive player whenever he came into Golden State because, think about it, whenever he was on the Thunder before, all the offense was focused on him. Westbrook was second. So KD had to put all his input to score at least 30 a game for the Thunder, who didn't have a lot of great 3-and-D scorers as well as spot-up shooters or players who can get their own shot besides Russ, who was inconsistent. So a lot of pressure was on KD offensively. Defensively, we didn't see that exquisite amount of top defensive performance because, again, everything was loaded on the offense. You got to think about the level of mentality of how you have to pace your game. Whenever he came to Golden State, KD can score 10 points per game, and they're still going to blow out other teams. So this gave him a lot of opportunities to where he doesn't have to be the main guy on offense. You already have Steph, Clay, Dre running the offense with a bunch of great spot-up shooters and ball movement. So he can chillax offensively. He has no stress whatsoever. He can play lackadaisical if he wanted to. Now on the defensive side, that gives him more opportunity, more energy, more focus to work on his defensive side. And that's what the Warriors championship with Steve Kerr mentality did provide for him. So that gave him his opportunities. Now when it comes back to Brooklyn, I don't expect that same defense to be there, to be highlighted. It's going to be more back onto the OKC offensive side towards instead of him and Russ, it's going to be him and Kyrie. And I expect them to actually bring in some good spot-up shooters to play alongside them.
After he gets back from the injury. So, you've diminished him on both ends of the court now, and I think he's going to be something less than an MVP caliber player. Still, Dominique,
No, I actually think Kevin Durant could win an MVP next season or in 2022. I think the Brooklyn Nets will be a top 2 seed in the NBA alongside the Milwaukee Bucks, we got to remember, guys, Giannis Antetokounmpo, next season is going to be his last season until free agency. I expect the Bucks to not win a championship. I think they'll get one finals appearance, but I actually expect Giannis to bounce and go elsewhere, which is going to lead the new era and opportunity in the East for the Brooklyn Nets to at least get a finals appearance or two. KD with his injury, yeah, that's another reason why his defense could probably go down a little bit. That's not the main reason for me. But no, KD will probably win one more MVP on the regular season. I expect either for next season, because I don't really see any other cats that are motivated, a new era to where they can take it. Maybe a Luka Doncic. I don't expect the Mavs to get that high of a seeding. Whenever it comes to Brooklyn and KD and his legacy, I think they'll give him that MVP for next season. So I'm excited about the Brooklyn Nets. I expect Kevin Durant to be around at least 90-95%. I don't think this injury is going to take him back, that much. We saw in the finals, KD was hurt. He was doing his thing, barely moving. Was pulling pull-up J's. So let's see how it goes with KD and the Brooklyn Nets. But I expect him to win one championship on that team, as well as him getting the finals MVP and probably one regular season MVP.